Now that Hobbytown is back in business, I just couldn't help but get another one of their chassis kits. This one here is the 87 612 with Alco 3-axle trucks. This uses the same frame as their universal 4-axle kit that I got earlier, except this one you cut the frame and use an extension piece to make it longer. Now, I special ordered this kit with their open frame motor option instead of the usual can motor that comes standard, just because I wanted to give this a try. This motor is the same Japanese motor that's been used in a lot of brass steam engines for about 40 years now, and it's had almost no changes, just refinement, and it's a very, very smooth running motor, almost perfectly balanced. Probably one of the best open frame motors I've used. The gearing is 21:1, so about half the speed of their normal gearing, and that goes well with the higher speed of the open frame motor. The 21:1 gear ratio and high-speed motor makes it quite a bit noisier than the last chassis, but it also gives it excellent torque. And with those 6 axles, it's got a lot of traction, so this is a very, very powerful chassis. And there's full speed, 12 volts. I've calculated that to about 83 scale miles per hour. The pieces of this chassis are made to fit Athearn's SD45 body and U28C, 30C, 33C bodies with very little work. And I have a U28C body, and I test fitted on there just to see how it would fit, and it fit in there perfectly when built to that length. This one, however, I have built to fit a Tyco shell. I've been wanting to repower this one for a long time, just because that power torque drive has never been all that good. And with the chassis cut to the length it is and the truck spacing, it is an excellent fit for the Tyco shell. And it runs a whole lot better now than it ever has before. Now the couplers, I'm going to have to get some longer ones to fit in there because standard length Cadies don't quite clear some of the detail on Tyco's Pilot there. There were a couple minor difficulties building this thing. They were easily resolved, but just a couple things to watch out for anyone who's building one. The gear mesh inside the trucks for the axles was just a tiny bit too tight. So what I did was, on those front axle bearings, it's a little hard to see there, where they rest inside the truck, I filed that down a little bit so they could fit a little farther inside. Just about a ½ millimeter was all it needed. It wasn't much at all. That perfected the gear mesh and got it running much more smoothly. Also, these trucks also came on my RSD5 kit about 10 years ago and haven't been changed since then, so as I found when I built that kit, the slots for the axles were slightly too tight. So what I did was I filed down the sides of the bearings for the axles a little. That helps them to fit in there better, and when they fit in there properly, they can move a lot more freely and make it run that much better. And Also about this motor, there's now an insulating option included, so they can be easily wired for DCC. The way you do it with this chassis, you have to, well, first I had to file these slots out so the motor could fit in there properly, and after that some masking tape or electrical tape has to be put in the frame there to prevent the motor from making any electrical contact. And then, with the rubber pad down there, a nylon screw fits through and screws into the bottom of the motor, which has to be placed upside down for the correct fit. After that, the motor is fully isolated and ready for DCC. The current draw of this thing when installed is about 2.5 amps, so not exactly a high efficiency motor, but it is a very nice running motor, and I'm very happy with how this chassis turned out. For those of you who want to fit the Tyco C630 shell to this chassis, the modifications are very simple. You just have to file down these 4 points on each side, starting from this center spot here and going back. And for the earlier models that have the fuel tank screwed in place, you remove the screw posts here all the way down and then somewhat inside the body. After that, it'll slip right in place.